Okay, good morning everyone. Chazak, thank you for joining us on this beautiful Thursday morning. Tu B'Shvat Sameach, as we are studying together Parashat Yitro. Today's class is dedicated for the return of the hostages in gratitude, and in gratitude to the IDF, sponsored by Denise and Leon Aburi. Chazak Baruch, Denise and Leon, thank you so much for your sponsorship, for your dedication. It should be a zechut as well for the two of you as you build your family, Be'ezrat Hashem. You should have a lot of hatzlacha, a lot of beracha, a lot of health, happiness, shalom, beriut. And today's class is dedicated for the return of our hostages. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should see Yeshuot. They should all return home, me'afela le'or, from darkness to light, safely and quickly, and as well for the protection of our soldiers. Amen. Parashat Yitro, my friends. Of course, Yitro joins the Jewish people. He joins the camp. And day one, he enters the scene, and he's already butting into his son-in-law's business. He sees how Moshe is handling things, and Yitro don't like it. Moshe is judging everybody. It's an interesting question. What exactly was he judging them about? He was a judge, and they were coming to him for litigation. They didn't have the Torah yet, it seems like. Parashat Yitro begins before Matan Torah, before the giving of the Torah. So the question is raised, so then what was Moshe adjudicating? But either way, some say the Torah was already given and it's just written out of order. Some say they still had commandments before the Torah was given. Whatever it was, Yitro is observing and he doesn't like what he sees. What he sees is Moshe is the only guy, the only game in town. He's the sole judge, judging people from morning to night, standing, getting exhausted. The people are getting exhausted. It's not a good system. You can't do this alone. Vayomer. And so he opens his mouth. He speaks his mind, Yitro. Ma davar hazeh asher ata oseh la'am. What are you doing, Moshe? Madua ata yoshev badecha. Why are you sitting alone? The word levad, you see it here. You see it in the beginning of the Torah. Lo tov heyot adam levado. The two times the word levad appears, by the way. Alone, no good. You can't be alone in life. You need friends, you need family, you need people that love you. You need people that you can love. So Moshe is here alone. Yitro says it's no good to be alone. Everyone's standing from morning to night waiting just for you. Why don't you create a system? Moshe is like, what do you want me to do? They all need to be judged. So Yitro says, okay, I have a solution. Because if not, you're going to wither and they're going to wither. So he says like this. Now what you need to do is you need to appoint other officers that are under you. You need to have the local court, and then the appeals court, and then the higher, and then the Supreme Court. There's no reason that everyone should come first to the Supreme Court. A lot of questions are simple. You don't have to go to Chacham Ovadia Yosef to ask him, Rabbi, am I allowed to eat meat and dairy together? You could ask your local rabbi, he could tell you that answer. You go to Chacham Ovadia, you don't ask him a simple question. I remember I was one time at Chacham Ovadia's house in a shul, in his lobby, and everyone's waiting. As they're finishing praying Arbit, he's walking back from his chair to his room, and everyone's there trying to kiss him, trying to ask him. So one guy yells, Kvod Harav, Rabbi, I have a very big question. What beracha is a tangerine? Everyone's like looking at the guy like a bozo. You're asking the rabbi beracha of a fruit. You could ask a little kid, he could tell you. What are you going to the rabbi for that? Yitro says, you don't need to be bothered with the easy questions. Create a system. Have judges. Let them teach. Whatever they don't know, let them go to the higher rabbi. Whatever they don't know, to the higher. And then this way you divide and conquer. This way you're not the only guy. You're going to have, it's much more efficient. This is called delegating, by the way, in English. Yitro says to Moshe, let's delegate. Let's divvy it up. Fascinatingly, Vayishma Moshe lekol choteno. Moshe listened. Vayaz kol asher amar. He did everything that he was told. And this officially became the new system of how Moshe would deal with the people. This is not necessarily a system that may have been implemented otherwise. It's thanks to Yitro and his advice and his observation. Matter of fact, Midrash in this week's Parashah, by the way, I'll tell you this. The Midrash says, Shib'a Shemot Nikre'ulo. He actually had 7 names. Some say because he had 7 daughters, so for each one he had to take out a mortgage under a different name. Not sure, okay, but either way. He had 7 names. Yeter. One of them was Yeter. Kshehu Nochri, when he was a non-Jew, he was called Yeter. Like it says back, we saw in the beginning, Vayashov El Yeter Hoteno. He returned to Yeter. Kshenitgayer Hosiflo Otahat. When he converted, they added the letter. It became Yitro. So he was really Yeter, and then they added the Vav for Yitro. Some say actually it was Tro, Tet Resh Vav. They added those 2 letters. He had a different name. And they added Taf Resh Vav because those letters are numerically Taf Resh Vav 606. Because when he converted, he went from 7 commandments of Noach that every goy has to keep to 613. The difference between 613 and 7 is 606. Same letters, by the way, of Rut, Resh Vav Taf, also 606. So it's interesting that Rut and Yitro have the same last 3 letters. So anyways, that was one name according to over here the Midrash. Davar Aher, you know why else he was called Yitro? Sheyiter Parasha Ahad Batorah. Because thanks to him now, he caused an additional passage in the Torah. Yiter, Yoter. Maybe you know the word Yoter. If you don't speak Hebrew, you for sure maybe know it from the song. Od Yoter Tov, Od Yoter Tov, right? Yoter, what's Yoter? More. Yoter. He caused a more paragraph because of his critique. Basically the entire paragraph that we read together. But what's very fascinating is that the Midrash comes and then shares, and what was that extra paragraph that was added thanks to Yitro? Shene'emar ve'ata tehezeh mikol ha'am. Like it says, and you shall seek out people from the entire population. You shall look for heads of 10s, heads of 100s, etc., etc., etc. And our rabbis over here, Chidushe Harim, says something very powerful. You're coming to point out that Yitro caused an additional paragraph in the Torah. Where does that paragraph begin? If you open the Humash, where does Yitro's sentence, when he starts to criticize, where does that start? That starts in chapter 18, Pasuk 13. It says the next day, Yitro wakes up, he sees Moshe judging, and he said, Vayomer, ma hadavar hazeh. What are you doing, Moshe? Lo tov, it's no good. So really, the additional paragraph starts all the way from those words. Ma davar hazeh. What are you doing, Moshe? And for some reason, the Midrash doesn't quote those words. It skips all the way from that Pasuk 14 all the way to Pasuk 21. Says the Midrash, thanks to him, we have extra now verses. Like it says in Pasuk 21, Ve'ata tehezeh mikol ha'am, and you shall seek out people. The question is, why doesn't it quote Pasuk 14? 7 psukim before that, he's already talking. Why is the Why is the addition that Yitro contributed only mentioned from what he said on verse 21 and on? Hidushei Harim says something very powerful and a very important lesson. Somebody wishes to criticize, and I'm sure we all became maybe experts in criticizing. There are some people that they know how to point out what's wrong. They could come in and they could assess the situation. What's wrong? They could tell you. I'll tell you what's wrong. This guy's not praying well. This guy's talking. That guy came late. This one's this. This one's that. And they're experts at pointing out all the problems. Says the Hidushei Harim, if all you do is point out problems, you have yet to give advice. Advice is not pointing out what's wrong. That's not what makes you a critic. To be a proper critic, you have to point out what's wrong, but then you have to give the solution. Yitro, he didn't just come and say, Moshe, no good. No good, Moshe. I'm just saying, you're not going to last. Listen to me. I'm a very wealthy businessman. I've been around. I've seen a lot. I've ran countries. I've been Paro's advisor. I'm a priest in Midian. I'm just telling you, Moshe, it's not good what you're doing. All right? Figure it out. I'll see you later. Yitro didn't do that. Yitro started with that, but he didn't stop there. Yitro said, on top of that, and therefore, Moshe, what I think you should do is have a pyramid, have a hierarchy, have officers working under you. The greatness of Yitro is that as he came to give criticism, as he came to rebuke Moshe, hand in hand, side by side with that criticism, he also gave Moshe the answers. He gave Moshe the solution. Identifying a problem doesn't make you great. That's not additional. What makes you great is giving the solution, solving the problem. Just to come and say you're not good. There are many people, they like this. They sit back in their couch, in their dining room, in wherever, and all day long they just talk about how the whole world is bad. Putin doesn't know, Trump doesn't know, America doesn't know, the rabbis don't know, the yeshivas are no good, no one's good. Everyone just they complain about the highway systems, about the curriculum and the schooling. They complain about the issues in the family. They complain about the whole world. Yitro started complaining. The greatness of Yitro, the Midrash is coming to say, the reason Moshe listened, the reason he's written down, is not because he complained, but it's because he provided the solution. Imagine a bridge is cracking. So you have a town meeting. The merchants complaining, the loss of trade. The mayor's blaming the previous administration. And the farmer saying, I can't get my produce to the other side. And the other guy saying, I can't travel now to go see my family. Everyone complains. Until the wise engineer comes, and instead of complaining, he says, let me fix the bridge. Let's reinforce. What are we doing about it? Shlomo HaMelech, when he talks about criticism in Mishlei, he writes one pasuk, but it's very, very powerful, and it's very deep, and we could spend hours on this pasuk. We cannot speak about this pasuk enough. Shlomo HaMelech says, Al tochach letz, penis naeka. Don't rebuke a letz. Don't rebuke a fool. Because if you rebuke a fool, not going to hear it. Some people in life, you want to tell them to their face that you'll never become anything until you stop playing victim, until you start taking matters into your own hands. Some people you want to smack them, but some they're just not ready to hear it. They just can't hear it. We have to ask yourself, when you're giving someone criticism, could they hear it? Some people, they're not in a space to hear. And a lot of times as a rabbi, someone comes, Rabbi, you got to say something, you got to do it. But part of a rabbi, of a parent, as an educator, you got to know what you can say and what they're not ready yet to hear. Not always, just because something's wrong, doesn't mean that it's the right time to mention it. Sometimes they're just not ready. They're not on the level. It's too high. So says Shlomo HaMelech, don't rebuke a fool. He's not going to listen to you. He's not only not going to listen to you, he's going to hate you. He's going to hate you now. Before, at least the guy didn't mind you. Now he's going to hate you more. So rather, hocheach lechacham, rebuke a wise man. A wise person understands how to take rebuke. Feedback. That's the simple reading of the pasuk. But there is a deeper reading of the pasuk, my friends. Says Shlomo HaMelech, al tochach litz. When we rebuke, says Shlomo, don't rebuke by just destroying. Don't rebuke by saying you're lazy. Don't rebuke by putting the person down. Not going to work when you rebuke like that. That's pointing out the problem. Hocheach lechacham, which maybe we could explain today to mean when you rebuke, you got to rebuke and give wisdom, give advice. Lechacham, give the person a road. Show them a way out. Give them a solution. That is what a great leader does. A great leader doesn't just find faults, but a great leader knows how to fix. This is Yitro's greatness. Yitro didn't just come and observe and point out the problem. Yitro came with the answer. Here, Moshe, let me help you. Sometimes in life, the people around us, we want to help them. But we help them, we go about it the wrong way. Because we tell them what they're doing wrong. And although we mean well, we have to remember from Yitro that there's a next step. There's somebody who's maybe going late, coming late to work. You could say, what are you coming? You're coming late to work. That's a low-level boss. He says to the employee, you're coming late to work. It's the third time already this month. But maybe a leader, a Yitro, would sit down with the employee. Say, what's going on? How you doing? How's your family? How's your wife? How's your kids? What's your morning like? What is there something that could be done to help you get here on time? Is it? Do you need a lift? Do you need a car? What's? I just want to understand. I want to help. I'm not just here to point out the flaws. The rebuke that we give should always be constructive. It should always be with now a takeaway. To just say what's not good doesn't help nobody. This is, by the way, the greatness of Yosef as well. When Paro had a dream that no one knew how to interpret, Yosef came and said that the 7 cows are representing 7 years of famine. 7 years of famine. You're going to have 7 good years and then you're going to have 7 bad years. But Yosef doesn't stop there. Yosef doesn't stop there. What does he say? He says, and now you need to make sure you save food. In those 7 years of famine, you're going to need food. So stock for the 7 years of plenty. And what's fascinating is just occurring to me now as I speak, is that when Yosef is standing in front of Paro and he gives him that advice, and that was the greatness, is that he doesn't just interpret the dream. He doesn't just, see the forecast. There's going to be 12 inches of snow. There's going to be 7 years of famine. That's pointing out the problem. But what's the solution? Yosef, like Yitro, provides the solution. But what I'm just thinking now out loud as I'm reading the pasuk, I just want to double check, is that when Yosef's interpreting it, okay, that's what I thought. Yitro begins and says, Ve'ata tehezeh, and you shall appoint someone. Yosef begins also, Ve'ata, but it's not a ata with an aleph, it's a ata with an ayin. But maybe it's alluding. Both problem finders also, who gave solutions, they start their solution with the same word. ve'ata, ve'ata, and now, or and you. Fascinating to compare and contrast. Ve'ata yere paro ish navon ve'chacham. Yosef says, and you shall now find someone who's very wise. And Yitro says something very similar. Ve'ata tehezeh mikol ha'am anshe hayil yireh Elohim. Also you shall find wise people. Both problems and both leaders, Yitro and Yosef, understood that now that I pointed out the problem, now I must also point out the solution. Yaakov Avinu on his deathbed, he doesn't just rebuke his sons Shimon and Levi. He tells them what their strengths are. He tells them how to use their weakness in a good way. This is greatness, Rabotai. This is what life is all about. To be a problem solver. To think solution-based, oriented. How can we fix it? What can we do to fix it? Not just what I see and where's the discrepancy. How do you fix it? How can I help? What can you suggest? This is greatness. This is what Yitro teaches us. Whether it's at work, whether it's with our children, whether it's with our spouse. To ask ourselves, as we're giving criticism, to not only point out the issues, not only to complain. Complain, a lot of people complain. But greatness is about understanding, okay, here's a complaint, but now let's give you the solution-oriented response. You're having a bad time communicating with your spouse? Okay, you know what? From now on, we're going to have 3 minutes of uninterrupted when you're arguing. You get 3 minutes and I'm going to listen without interrupting. That's a solution. We feel like we don't spend time enough. Every night from 9 to 10. No phones. We're having tea and coffee together. Solution. Let's give a solution. Let's try to help. How can I help? Your room is always messy. How can I help? Why is it messy? Is there something that I could do? First of all, it shows that we care. More importantly, the person that's listening understands that you're not just trying to knock. When a person hears it like that, they will be more receptive to it. They will want to actually take steps because you've given it to them. But more importantly than you giving it to them, most of the time people deep down, they know what to do. The soul knows how to correct itself. The soul is very powerful. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a neshama. It's a part of God. It's infinite. The soul knows. But sometimes there's so much noise. Just need to allow ourselves to think. When we point out to people not only the problem but the solution, we're showing them that we care. And on their own, they're more than happy to join us on that journey of self-growth. Okay, we'll stop over here, everyone. Have a wonderful and blessed day. And hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.